Hey guys, Greg here. I just sat down and had a nice interview with Zev Feldman, and he was nice enough to send me his newest releases. Carlos Garnett, re-release on Muse. Roy Brooks, re-release from Muse. Kenny Barron, re-release. And Charlie Roos Band, which is not on Muse. Anyway, this is going to be a two-part series. So, part one, Zev talks about the history of Muse, how he got into working with them, and some other projects he's working on. Part two, we're just going to get into the specific records themselves. So stay tuned for part two about these great four releases. Thanks.
Well, Roy Brooks is one of the great drummers in jazz from Detroit. Uh, Played with so many different musicians. I think my introduction to Roy Brooks, frankly, was playing with Horace Silver, and a lot of us feel that way too. But this album, "The Free Slave," which was recorded at the Left Bank Jazz Society in Baltimore, has really grown into cult status, if you will. It's an amazing live recording. Happened to be recorded, by the way, by an engineer named Orville O'Brien. That name might ring some bells to some folks. Forces of Nature with McCoy Tyner and Joe Henderson on Blue Note last year. He was the recording engineer, and it's a beautiful photograph of Roy Brooks there. We've created these inserts with new liner notes. For that release, Shannon Effinger wrote some new liners. We also have a testimonial from Barney Fields, who is the son of Joe Fields, the founder of Muse. I wanted us to build something that really celebrated the releases. There's no need for people to pay $500 for a copy of this album anymore for an OG, because I think this new version, frankly, is better than the original in so many different ways. The audio is right on par, as you would expect from an all analog recording. It sounds great, but it's preserved now, and I think that this is really like the premiere edition. George Coleman, Woody Shaw, Hugh Lawson, Cecil McBee, all ringers, all familiar folks to a lot of us, and some of the greatest musicians. And it was recorded not far from where I live now. I'm in Montgomery County, Maryland, but the Left Bank Jazz Society was in Baltimore at the famous ballroom. It's of jazz history, and I really feel very proud to be able to present this. That's a very important album, and so many people celebrate it.
You did another Roy Brooks at the same place that was your original release. Are those similar dates, times, same week, or just
You know what? I think they're actually about a year or so apart, if I'm not mistaken. Now, you're referring to the album Understanding, which I co-produced with my dear friend Corey Weeds for the Reel to Reel label a few years ago. And that record sold out fast. I believe on there it is right there.
so let's see the date, November 1970, three records,
Yeah.
similar, not the exact same lineup. We had Garnett instead of George Coleman.
Hmm.
Carlos Garnett has
Yes.
done some great work with people like Pharoah Sanders, but not a household name for some jazz fans.
Well, I think back to Andrew Hill is one of the first people perhaps that I listened to. And I remember because I interviewed Mr. Garnett when we did the Understanding record, and he talked to me about his relationship and friendship with Woody Shaw, who brought him in to record with Andrew Hill, and they played together a lot. Carlos Garnett was a Panamanian born musician, saxophonist, and made some incredible records for Muse in this period. This album, Cosmos Nucleus, is such an interesting recording. It's a different kind of date. There's world, there's fusion. It's a large ensemble. It even includes a 17-year-old Kenny Kirkland playing keys on this album too. But all you got to do is listen. But this is a record that has been sought after for a long time. I have never seen a copy in a record store ever. On Well, Kenny Barron's, that's his debut recording for Muse Records. It was made by Don Schlitten. Kenny Barron made several albums for Muse in the 1970s and also would later go on to record for Xanadu Records for Don Schlitten, too. And Richard Landrum's from Philadelphia, where Kenny's from. Freddie Waits, one of the great unheralded, unsung heroes of jazz drumming, and played with Freddie Hubbard as an example, and a lot of your just amazing musician. As you'll see, we've really kept the design, the original design intact. I didn't want to change anything with the original liner notes on the back. We've put our time traveler logo on there. And again, there's another insert in the inner sleeve that you'll see with this artwork. For this release, we had Ted Pankin pen some new liner notes for the project, and again, also spoke again with Barney Fields, uh, too, about giving us some thoughts about his father's legacy and Muse, and he worked at the label himself. Again, I am beaming with enthusiasm and love for this label. We are so lucky to have this opportunity of bringing these recordings back out again. But again, I think it was really about having an upgrade to the vinyl itself, to the jackets, to the inside. This is a Rolls Royce presentation through and through. Muse was using Rudy Van Gelders. They were using Paul Goodman at RCA. They worked with the very, very best. I mean, when you look at Muse, the musicians, the engineers, even the liner note writers, they're going to be familiar to you because Uh, Charlie Rouse loved Brazilian music. He even made a Blue Note recording of bossa novas, if I'm not mistaken. But Charlie Rouse, one of the great saxophonists in jazz, this is an album at Resonance Records that my label owner and co-president George Claben originally recorded at his studio Sound Ideas in New York in the 1970s. Alan Douglas came in, recorded it there, and then later for the Cinnamon Flower release, um, Alan Douglas would do some overdubs over some of the original recordings. Now, for the very first time, Greg, we also have the original recordings themselves that my boss George recorded at Sound Ideas without the overdubs. So you can hear the original album that came out, the one that was that had the overdubs, the final version, and then you can also have a glimpse of listening to the album before that, the way it was originally made in the studio, and it really provides for the very first time some new insight. This was an album that George Claben is very close to. One of the great things that we get to do at Resonance Records, because my boss's history is so rich in his legacy and the musicians that he's worked with. This is a part of his history. So for us to get a chance to work with George, to bring this out, this is a fantastic album. I just think it's really a highlight of jazz in the 1970s, and again, having such a this Brazilian music influence with guys like Dom Salvador on there and Claudio Roditi and others. This is a really terrific record. So, anyways, James Gavin, the great author and journalist and scribe, wrote some beautiful liner notes for us too. We have a wonderful interview with Charlie Rouse Jr., Chico Rouse, which was great. And it's just a terrific release. Lots of photographs that you can see in there, and just something right in our wheelhouse for what we love to do, celebrating the music. And you can hear the original for the very first time. The album that came out, Cinnamon Flower, has overdubs on top of it of other musicians that were added from what the original recording was. We have the original recording without the overdubs, and then you have the final version, of course, that a lot of people know. So you have that version that came out, and then you have the earlier version of everything without the overdubs on it. It gives you a chance to listen to it in two different ways. It's different. It's a different experience. You'll listen to it, and everyone will have a chance to have their own opinion on it. But it's a lavish package, so beautiful with the photographs and the artwork. And on the cover, that young little girl is Alan Douglas's daughter, Solo. And we've had a chance to work with her and her sister, Kirby. for this project. And this is actually what's really interesting too. This is the return of us working with the Alan Douglas estate. We first worked with them in 2016 for the Eric Dolphy release that we did on our label, which included some bonus material, and we worked with Alan's family then. So this was just great to be able to come back to this, and to do an official release. So we're all very proud, and I'm happy once again to be able to present a portion of my boss's legacy, George Claben, who has left an unbelievable mark in music and what he's done. It's out now. Folks can order it anywhere. It's not a record store day release. Anywhere you buy music, you can order Cinnamon Flower, the expanded album. Grateful. I got to tell you something. 30 years ago, Greg, I was working overnights in a gas station while I was going to school with dreams and aspirations. And I never even dreamed that something like this would be possible. I worked for the first 15 years of my career working in sales and marketing. And it wasn't really until the last 15 years, 16 years working at Resonance. George Claben is the one that gave me my start producing albums, and I'm grateful. But I will say this again, my mantra: let's keep going. There's a lot of great music to come. Um, and I just again I'm just humbled and so grateful for all the supportive folks out there. Is that